I didn't expect anything unusual when I first noticed my neighbor. It started as a passing curiosity, the kind that slips into your mind quietly and refuses to leave. Every day at exactly the same time, he would leave his house wearing the same dark jacket, carrying the same black bag and walking with the same measured steps. No variation, no hesitation. At first it felt like coincidence, then it became a pattern, and then it became something I couldn't ignore. What kind of person lives their life with such precision? What was inside that bag? Where was he going every single day without fail? These questions began to grow louder in my mind until curiosity turned into obsession. I told myself it was harmless, just watching, just noticing. But deep down, I knew I was crossing a line. And yet, I kept going. Because sometimes the truth behind ordinary routines is anything but ordinary. What I discovered over the next 30 days completely changed the way I see the people around me. And maybe it will change how you see your neighbors too. Before I tell you what happened, I want you to pause for a second and think about your own surroundings. How well do you really know the people living next door to you? Do you recognize their routines, their habits, their patterns? Or do they remain strangers behind closed doors? Drop a comment right now telling me which city you're watching from. I'm genuinely curious to see how far this story travels. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe because stories like this only get deeper the further you go. What started as a simple observation turned into something I never could have predicted. Day by day, detail by detail, I began to piece together a reality that felt almost unreal. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized I might have been the one being watched all along. On the first few days, everything seemed normal. He would leave at 7:45 a.m. sharp, walk down the street, and disappear around the corner. He returned every evening at exactly 6:10 p.m. No visitors, no deliveries, no noise. It was as if time itself revolved around his schedule. I started keeping notes, writing down every movement, every detail, convincing myself it was just an experiment. But then I noticed something strange. On day 5, he left as usual, but he came back 10 minutes earlier than normal. That was the first break in the pattern. It was small, almost insignificant, but it was enough to trigger something in me. Why the change? What caused it? From that moment on, I paid closer attention, watching not just what he did, but how he did it. The way he looked around before unlocking his door, the slight pause before stepping inside. It wasn't fear, it was calculation. By the second week, things started to feel different. I began noticing subtle inconsistencies. One day, the black bag looked heavier, as if it was filled with something dense. Another day, it seemed almost empty. Once, I caught a glimpse inside when he adjusted the strap, but it was too quick to make out anything clearly. My imagination started filling in the gaps, creating scenarios that ranged from harmless to deeply unsettling. Was he working a normal job, or was something else going on? The more I watched, the less normal everything seemed. And then came day 14. That was the day everything changed. Instead of leaving through the front door, he walked out the back. I almost missed it. But when I realized what had happened, my heart started racing. Why would he change his routine so suddenly? From that point on, the sense of unease grew stronger. I started noticing him noticing me. Not directly, not obviously, but in small ways. A glance that lingered just a second too long. A pause in his step when I was outside. It was as if he knew something, or suspected something, and yet I couldn't stop. I needed answers. I needed to understand what was really going on. So I adjusted my approach. I became more careful, more strategic, watching from different angles, at different times, trying to stay invisible. But the deeper I went, the more I felt like I was stepping into something I didn't fully understand. Something bigger than just a neighbor with a routine. On day 22, I made a decision that I would later regret. I followed him. Not closely, not recklessly, but enough to see where he went after turning that familiar corner. He walked for several blocks, never once looking back, until he reached a building I had never noticed before. It looked abandoned, quiet, almost forgotten. He entered without hesitation. I stayed outside, waiting, watching, trying to decide what to do next. Minutes felt like hours, and then just as I was about to leave, the door opened again. But it wasn't just him this time. There were others, people I had never seen before, all carrying similar black bags. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about one person anymore. The final days were the hardest. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. Every sound, every movement, every shadow felt different. I started questioning everything, my choices, my curiosity, even my safety. And then on day 30, something happened that ended everything. He didn't leave the house that morning. For the first time, the routine stopped completely. Hours passed, and nothing. No movement, no sign of life. And then, just as the sun began to set, there was a knock on my door. Slow, deliberate. I froze. Every instinct told me not to open it. But curiosity, that same curiosity that started all of this, pushed me forward. And when I opened the door, everything changed in a way I can't fully explain. I'm still trying to understand what really happened, whether it was coincidence, intention, or something far more complex. But one thing is certain, some mysteries are not meant to be uncovered. And sometimes the act of watching can turn you into part of the story itself. So next time you notice something unusual, ask yourself, do you really want to know the truth? Or are you better off not looking at all?